Welcome, creators. Sit yourselves down by the crackling hearth fire and listen. I am Holistic Dungeon Master, and in this video I will show you how to cultivate a skill that will rewire your brain to have shorter, more focused, and more enlightened prep sessions so that you can provide the very best for your players at the table and shave hours from your prep time. I call this skill Deep Work. Let's get rolling. What does your prep session look like? Do messenger apps and D&D meme pages on Instagram snatch your attention and focus away like some big bad evil guy taking candy from one of your PC's little siblings? How long does it take? Too long. And yet somehow it always seems as though you are unprepared and unsatisfied with what you have heading into a session that you know deep down that you could have crafted something even better. Well, the good news is that you can, and it's not you that's the problem, no, it's your approach. That's why you need deep prep. What the flippin' hay is deep prep, I hear you ask? Well, it's just a reskinning of Cal Newport's term that he explains in his book, Deep Work. Great book. He defines deep work, as a state of distraction-free concentration, where your brain works at its maximum potential. Now, doesn't that sound useful for you when you're prepping your sessions? Imagine when you sit down to craft a wonderful experience for your players, that you become completely locked in and zoned in to this endeavor and produce the best D&D session that you ever have before. No distractions, no wasted time, just complete and utter focus and the flow of creativity which pulls fantastic new novel ideas out of your beautiful DM minds. And you finish your prep in 2 hours or less. Just 2 hours. Sounds idealistic for sure, I know. But getting into this state is not as difficult as you might think, and mastering this skill of deep work will ripple out into other areas of your life, holistically. This skill is like any good game. Easy to learn, but difficult to master. But there are things you can do to ease your progression from shallow into deep prep. Right? So let's talk about them. Any distraction, whether when you're engaged in some form of kind of long form work, like you're prepping a session, it's going to take a few hours. Any distraction, anything that distracts you, whether it's a ping on your phone, someone calls you to talk to you, something pops into your head and you quickly look it up on Google. Any distraction like that, no matter how small, costs you 15 minutes of productivity. Can you imagine? It's easy to imagine, right? You've set down, you're going to be prepping this, you've set aside maybe 4, maybe 5 hours to prep this week's session. How many times are you going to get distracted? 2, 5, 10? How much time is that going to cost you? Multiply that by 15. And that's how many minutes that's going to cost you. It's a lot, it's a ton. So we want to eliminate that. We want to eliminate those distractions so you can really focus down and not waste any time. Where, if you're distracted a bunch of times, your 6-hour session, you're really only prepping for about 1 to 2 hours, really prepping. Anyway, right? So here's some tips. Turn off your phone, okay? Or better yet, just put it in another room. Turn it off, or maybe just turn off the notifications, put it away from you, put it in another room. It can wait. Having the best prep of your life can't. Close all of your browser tabs. Just close them all. Shut down Chrome, shut down Firefox, whatever you're using. Internet Explorer? What's it called now? Microsoft Edge? I don't know. You're probably not using that. If you are, close it down, all right? Using it, when you're prepping, you might get the urge to look something up on a D&D wiki or a forum or something like that. And these may seem useful, and they are useful, but ultimately, they lead to distraction, right? You look up, and it's happened to me a bunch of times. I looked up a city or a town or an NPC or just a deity, and you just keep reading and reading and reading, and there's another interesting link. I'm gonna click that, and you've already gotten that one little tidbit of information you needed to keep prepping, but you're still reading stuff that isn't related. It's just interesting, right? So your own mind is the best resource. So close those tabs, those wikis, you don't need them while you're prepping. At the end, when you're finished this deep prep session, sure, come back to like verify lore or mechanics or whatever after this deep prep session, right? Without distraction like this. Can you imagine no distractions, no pinging messages, no opening tabs to look up stuff? Can you imagine an hour or two of this? You will enter this beautiful state of flow and you will delve deeper into that creative fire and you will produce just some stellar stuff. You will surprise yourself, I promise you. That all sounds great, but we need to define this section of time to make it the most efficient. Parkinson's law, it's an old economist's kind of adage, right? But it kind of applies to many areas of life, and this applies to prepping your session perfectly, right? It's this idea that the work will expand to fill the time you've allocated to it, right? That you've allotted for its completion. Now, what that means is if you sit down, you say, okay, I have 4 hours to prep. Your prep will take you 4 hours, all right? But if you sit down and say, I have 2 hours to prep, you will get the same amount of prep done if you give yourself less time. I know that sounds completely counterintuitive, but when you have too much time to do something, you will fill that up with stuff that does not matter or with inefficient practices. If you sit down and say, kind of, if you're vague with your prep time, it can stretch for, how many of you have spent 6+ hours prepping your session? Probably many of you. I know I have. But in kind of in this strange kind of counterintuitive way, if you set yourself less time, you will get the same amount done, maybe even more. You become more efficient and you really hone in on what is important to prep and what you really need for your session. If you define the time, if you define it, you give yourself less time for what doesn't matter, right? You will quickly realize what is absolutely necessary to prep. And once you set away a specific time to do it, maybe you can kind of schedule it the same time, same amount of time every week. This creates a ritual of prep, right? You can get into a ritual, a habit of deep prep. So finding out those things that you're prepping that honestly doesn't really matter to your party or to your players' enjoyment. It's crucial, right? Your players, they don't really care about that lore of that magic item or the blacksmith's wives or struggling business or the court system you've kind of built and kind of world built and homebrewed in your town. They don't care unless it's directly involved in the narrative. So all of those little things, improvise those at the table and don't waste your time prepping what doesn't really matter and might not even come up. Keep an eye out during your sessions, right? So prep is normal, run it as normal, and keep an eye out. What did you prep that wasn't used? What did you prep that you almost feel disappointed, right? When your players, they don't care about something, right? You spent a lot of time on it, you've spent a lot of energy, kind of emotion, kind of, you care about this stuff. It's your world, you're excited to share it with your players, and they don't care about a bunch of stuff. It hurts, it does, but that pain is an indicator that they don't care. And it helps you know what not to prep in the future, what not to spend your creative energy. We only have so much of it, right? So use that pain to understand that they didn't care. Don't waste your energy on that sort of thing in the future. Focus on what they do care on. And, oh yeah, that's what you gotta focus on, right? This frees up space in your mind for the important stuff. It's such a simple concept, but it's so powerful, right? You can then decide before your deep prep session what you're going to spend that limited working time on, and this will of course increase efficiency. When you have a plan, you know what you're going to work on, you get in there, 2 hours of focused, concentrated, uninterrupted work, you will get more than you ever thought possible done in those 2 hours. So the results of all this, over time, if you train this deep prep skill with persistence, you may go even deeper into your creative flow. It's this magical thing that happens. You really plumb the depths of that creativity, the more focused and the less distracted you are. And the good thing about this is it's like a skill. It's like leveling up, right? You start off kind of not great at it, but the more you do it, the better it feels and the better you get at it and the better your games will be. You can develop this. You have a habit of doing this and you just get better at it over time, right? Your prep time, it'll become a fraction of the time of what you spent. I'm saying 2 hours, but honestly, focusing in on the bare essentials to run a good session, you could even do it in an hour, right? Once you get really good at focusing and plumbing those creative depths, right? But you can prep a great game now in 2 hours or less. Absolutely, if you utilize this kind of deep prep system. And also a fraction of the stress, right? You will feel completely confident and at ease heading into the session because you know that you've done absolutely everything that you could. And the stuff you'll pull out of your own brain with no distractions and focus, trust me, it's astonishing. And this will give you confidence, and that's kind of key to running a good session, is to be confident about what you have ready for your players. You will produce some truly enlightening and exciting sessions for them. Really. Being in that flow state also, it's just good for your mental health, right? You can check up the studies. Being in a flow state improves your people's overall mental health. And so having a daily habit of that, you will just see your mental health improve, which is also important when you're running a session, right? It'll just improve your performance overall, and not just in D&D, your whole life, but we're just focusing on D&D here, right? But that is a very important thing to note about this. And this skill will translate into other areas of your life, deeper focus and more creativity. It will flourish in your whole life, your everyday life, as it has mine getting into this. I find I can focus on things deeper. It's kind of strange. It's something I did to improve like my prep time, right? My prep time and stuff, and it has just translated into other areas of my life, which is fantastic. Now, for a great starting point, I recommend that you read Sly Flourish's The Lazy Dungeon Master's Guide, right? Which focuses on the absolute essentials, the absolute bare minimum. Remember that 1 hour prep time? If you focus on what this book is telling you to focus on, then it helps prepare you to improvise, and you just combining this focused, deep prep on the bare essentials to run a great game where you're prepared to improvise. The results will be astounding, and you will just improve your DM game by an insane amount. Now you are equipped with everything you need to start cultivating this deep prep practice. So give it a try, right? Give it a go with your next session. Let us know down in the comments below how you get on, or if you have any ideas of your kind of further ideas of your own about how to practice deep prep, then please share your wisdom with us down below, and we can foster and cultivate this community of DMs who help each other succeed in becoming the best DM they truly can be. I also have a new community Discord server, right? It's linked down in the description below. If you're a DM, we can hang out there, we can workshop, we can basically just talk shop about D&D stuff. I can do that stuff all day. I'll be in there all the time, basically. I'll be in there a lot, kind of getting in contact with all of you, and we can talk about our favorite hobby and how to get better at it. Or if you are just enjoying my content and you prefer just playing D&D, I'll be advertising my future games in there, so you can have me as a DM if that is your wish. And yeah, it's going to be a cool place to hang out, and it'll be developed even further in the future. So go ahead, click that link and join it below, and I'll see you there. Now, if you've watched this video up to now, then you are the DM I'm making these videos for. Someone who is truly dedicated to honing their craft as a DM. So thank you for watching all the way to the end. Please share it with another DM who you think could use this information, find it helpful. Please crit the subscribe button and notification bell. And remember, this world needs good DMs.